This is CBC Here and Now.
Police oversight. A document released today says what we're doing now is not good enough.
We came to the conclusion that there are some really gaping holes in this province.
Coming up on Here and Now.
A judge has approved the sale of dozens of Catholic properties like this one in the St. John's area, raising millions of dollars to help compensate victims of abuse at the hands of Christian brothers and priests.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. A review of police oversight led by local Indigenous and community groups says there are big problems with the current system. The coalition is calling for the establishment of a new civilian-led police oversight board that's politically neutral and independent of the police. Here and Now's Mark Quinn reports.
We've been hearing anecdotally for a long time now that the urban Indigenous people in St. John's simply do not trust or have confidence in either the RNC or the RCMP.
With that in mind, the First Voice Working Group on Police Oversight has written a 57-page draft report. It concludes the oversight provided by the RNC Public Complaints Commission and CERT-NL is inadequate.
We did a lot of research about what's happening in Newfoundland, in Labrador, what's happening across Canada, and we came to the conclusion that there are some really gaping holes in this province.
For example, the report says there's very little oversight of the RNC's chief of police.
Implementing a police board provides better transparency and accountability for the police, and particularly the chief of police that has an extensive amount of power.
The RNC has not responded to a request for comment made by CBC earlier today. The report says the Serious Incident Response Team involves a self-investigative structure, which gives rise to serious concerns about impartiality. It also questions if retired police officers or police officers seconded to investigate for CERT-NL are truly independent. In a statement to CBC, CERT-NL Director Mike King wrote, "I feel strongly that we have been successful in holding police officers in Newfoundland and Labrador accountable. We must continue to build upon this success. We are committed to moving forward with further collaboration with First Voice, First Light, the Status of Women's Council, and other community organizations." The document released today is a draft report. The coalition that created it says it is taking comments from the public right now and will release a final report in the fall. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, some sad news to tell you about now. A 6-year-old boy in Conception Bay South died at a popular swimming area yesterday. CBS Mayor Darren Bent says many people know the boy and the entire community is in mourning. The boy was active in sports and was enrolled in the summer day camp program. Bent says the camp was canceled this morning to arrange for support. The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary released a statement saying that it responded to an incident in CBS yesterday and it's still being investigated.
Of course, our camp counselors who work with this young man are devastated, and they need supports as well. So we've been working to bring in supports that if they want to avail them, they're there, and offer over the next day or so, we'll be offering information to parents regarding this sort of thing, and we're offering to help in any way we can.
Meanwhile, a 57-year-old man drowned in Witless Bay on the weekend. The Ferryland RCMP was called to a local swimming hole near Southside Track Road yesterday evening. The Witless Bay Volunteer Fire Department removed the body from the water, and emergency medical services attempted to resuscitate the man without success. That investigation is continuing. Well, a significant milestone today in the process of compensating victims of abuse at the hands of Christian brothers and priests. A Supreme Court judge has approved the sale of more than 40 properties owned by the Roman Catholic Episcopal Corporation of St. John's. The next phase of this historic insolvency has also been endorsed. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
Here's the list. 43 properties, including 13 Catholic churches in the St. John's area, sold, with only a handful expected to continue in their intended use. Total haul, more than $20 million. Justice Garrett Handrigan approved the transactions at Supreme Court this morning, more than 4 months after a sale by tender process commenced for more than 60 properties. Now here's an example of one of the transactions. Right here we have the St. Pius X Church, and behind me over here we have the former St. Pius X School. Now both have been acquired by the Association for New Canadians. But we don't know the purchase price because the judge has put a sealing order on all the deals. But 19 of the properties did not sell and will now be listed with a real estate agent with the goal of obtaining the maximum amount possible for abuse survivors. The court also approved a plan to list for sale 70 more churches, rectories, and parish halls on the southern Avalon and the Burin Peninsula. It's the latest chapter in a major shakeup for the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of St. John's, a once powerful institution with a history dating back more than 2 centuries. The Archdiocese has been found liable for the sexual and physical abuse that occurred at Mount Cashel Orphanage in the late 40s and beyond. There's believed to be over 100 survivors of abuse at the hands of Christian brothers and priests still living, with claims estimated at more than $50 million. The compensation process is still being formalized. One of the outstanding issues now involves the fate of more than 24 school properties. The schools were part of the old denominational school system and owned by the Episcopal Corporation. However, they were taken over by the government through the Schools Act in 1997. Lawyers for the victims want to sell the schools, estimating their combined value at up to $100 million. They allege the schools were expropriated from the church without compensation. Without the sale of these schools, lawyers for the victims say it will not be possible for the survivors to receive full and just compensation. Lawyers for the provincial government and the English School Board are challenging the proposed sale of the schools, with the issue expected to be resolved during a court hearing scheduled for November. Meanwhile, Archbishop Peter Hunt has continued to avoid the spotlight. But in a letter to Catholics over the weekend, Hunt acknowledged that the sale of the churches is a distressing and emotional process for all the people and clergy of the Archdiocese. But he stressed that the Archdiocese must move forward with its legal obligations to the victims and restructure our diocese in a positive and sustainable manner. Justice Garrett Handrigan has extended the insolvency process until December 9th, by which time most of the properties in the Archdiocese should be sold, and the claims process for the victims well underway. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, we spoke with the lawyer representing most of the abuse victims a short time ago. Jeff Budden says today's approvals by the court is a positive step and helps move the process closer to full compensation for the victims. But he repeated his position that school properties should be part of the sales process. It's clear a legal battle over this is brewing.
Well, I think we're fundamentally far apart in the sense that we believe that those assets should be available in the insolvency. The government and the school board believe they should not be. They should be available for apparently to be used indefinitely by the board to educate children in this district without any regard to any obligation to compensate survivors. We also heard today some evidence is read in by myself that suggests that the Episcopal Corporation contributed quite a substantial amount of money in terms of value of land to have those schools built. So this is not just some notional ownership. The Episcopal Corporation made a real and substantial contribution towards those schools. And that is what we are simply trying to do, to see that the value the Episcopal Corporation put into it is taken out to compensate survivors.
Well, in other news, crews worked hard to contain a wildfire near the town of Conception Bay South Sunday afternoon. An out-of-control forest fire raged near the northern Avalon community. Water bombers and members of the CBS Fire Department battled the fire in the hot summer sun. The area was dry at the time of the flare-up. The CBS Fire Department says just before 5 p.m., the fire had diminished enough to be considered under control. The scene was turned over to the Department of Forestry as well as the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary. The Department of Forestry says the forest fire risk is extreme for the Avalon and parts of Central.
As soon as we got up here, we noticed the smoke and that there was the crackling noise, and I stepped in the woods about 5 feet and found the fire. And it was raging pretty good, so then we called 911 right away. And then they were dispatched within a few minutes. They were up here working on it right away. The only difficulties they had is that it's deep in the woods, so they had to call in the water bomber. And so for the last 4 or 5 hours, we've been up on our back decks watching it, monitoring it, because it is close to a lot of homes and farmland up here. But a great job by the CBS Fire Department, right on top of it, and hats off to them for doing a great job.
Now, this afternoon, the town of Conception Bay South implemented a fire ban, so no burning of any kind is permitted, including backyard fires, fire pits, charcoal barbecues, and fireworks. However, propane fire pits and propane barbecues are allowed. Meanwhile, Parks Canada says there's a fire on the western boundary of the park. It's reported as under control and no risk to any visitors, but smoke can be seen from the Trans-Canada Highway in that region.
Yeah, speaking of fires, we talked about how the fire risk is extreme, and we've been seeing some lightning, some thunderstorms going across the province for a good chunk of the day, and it looks like some of those fires were caused by, or the potential to be caused by lightning. The thunderstorms went through, and then we did see those fires. So if we take a look at what's going on right now, there's all of the activity right now. A line went through earlier, another line moving through as we speak. And then we do have some lightning as well up across southeastern portions of Labrador headed towards the northern peninsula. So definitely going to keep an eye on that over the next couple of hours. But Environment Canada has issued now a severe thunderstorm warning for Grand Falls, Windsor, Gander, and then Terra Nova as we speak. So there's that line moving through. With this, you're talking about frequent lightning, and you can see that on the map. Lots of lightning associated with this one. Some heavy downpours as well as some strong winds as well. So these storm cells are going to continue to track further eastward. There's some more risk in other areas as well, but I'll get into the full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, a farm owner in Kippens is pleading with the public to stop feeding horses and ponies after one of her mares died tragically on the weekend. Jessica Boyd owns Driftwood Acres, which breeds Newfoundland ponies with the goal of conserving the endangered species. She says she found a large amount of apples dumped in the horses area and soon after found one of her mares rolling in pain on the ground.
The vet will be here soon.
The vet's gonna be here soon, Kat.
Boyd says although they were able to quickly get care from a veterinarian, it became clear that the horse would not be able to recover and had to be put down to stop its suffering. She says horses have bad digestive systems, and she often warns the public to not feed the ponies. Boyd says while 1 or 2 apples is fine, a large quantity of food can be fatal. She knows the person who gave the ponies the apples did not have malicious intent, but she is asking the public to be more considerate and not feed other people's animals. Boyd says the loss of this pony hurts even more considering the limited number of Newfoundland ponies left in the world. Well, as part of St. John's Pride Week, there was a weekend ball tournament as a fundraiser. The group was raising money for an LGBTQ summer camp. Camp Eclipse is a youth retreat that happens in August.
Anything that you do with respect to Pride Week is so important to have all of the community involved. And Tomcats, we jump on it every year. We're looking forward to the Pride Parade next week as well. If you don't have the community behind you, you're not going to get too far, really, right?
And of course, what better place to have an LGBT softball game than at Rainbow Gully Road?
Yeah.
Because we have Tina here, who was on Big Brother Canada. So she's kind of a celebrity of sorts. And then, of course, Irma just made Canada's Drag Race, so it was very important for us as a province to support her. So it was great that she came out today as well. And, of course, then we have Kelly Loader, who made Canada's Got Talent. So we have 3 great people who are representing our community right now. So it's fantastic to have her here.
Well, a car show turned fundraiser had heads and wheels turning in St. John's on Saturday. The event was organized by Wheels for Wishes in cooperation with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. The money raised helps a child from the province who lives with sight loss get a buddy dog. This year's recipient is 7-year-old Nathan Payne from Corner Brook, who has a genetic disease which causes vision loss over time.
We empower the automotive community, the race car drivers, the motorcycle racers, to come out and help our cause, which this year would be to get a buddy dog for our friend here, Nathan. It's an incredible feeling when the automotive community comes out and supports your cause.
What a great showing with all the great cars around. There's a couple of hundred cars here for sure, if not more. And we're raising money for CNIB's Guide Dog program. This is the third year that Wheels for Wishes has been helping out the program. Each of our guide dogs costs around $50,000 from the time that they're raised and matched with the handler and to the time that they retire. So Wheels for Wishes has come forward to raise more than that in each year that they've worked with us, and certainly we're looking to exceed that again this year. Guide dogs are, an extension of the person themselves and can help navigate the world safely, to avoid obstacles, avoid dangerous situations.
It starts to give a young child some independence. It gets them ready for later in life in the event that they need a full-fledged guide dog. So when we deliver the dog, or the dog gets delivered to the child, it's really the beginning of their training stages. The independence of the dog, how they have to take care of the dog, take the dog for a walk. It's a really good thing. It's basically a learning step for when they get later in life. Last year we had a show. The turnout was really good, not quite as good as this year. And the year before we did a cruise called Cruising 'Cause We Care. Each year we've managed to make the $50,000 to get the dog for children with vision loss. Today will be pretty crazy. It'll be good, but we will continue to grow bigger and better, because as we gain awareness for children with sight loss, we'll make bigger shows. We'll get more people, and our end goal is to have people come from away to come to our show. So, we win on all levels, and we start to get some international exposure. We think it's really important that everybody comes out, supports the CNIB Guide Dog program. It's pretty important to us. It's near and dear to our hearts. If you get the opportunity to see one of these child with their dog with the vest on, it's pretty amazing. It's a great thing. So it's really cool when all of our friends come out here today. We look around, we see beautiful cars, new cars, old cars, race cars. It's just amazing. It's a great thing. We have a special surprise for Nathan. There may just be a superhero arrive later on today, and you never know. There may be someone just hanging around on a rooftop here.
So on our way up from Halifax to here, we spent several continuous days in fogs taking measurements around the clock.
Understanding fog. Next, find out why some researchers are really excited to be surrounded by fog. Ashley speaks with one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're on the South Coast, you're not very happy about being surrounded by fog, but we are tracking some thunderstorms across parts of the province. I'll get into the details after the break.
Ashley, around these parts, we know all about RDF, rain, drizzle, and fog, of course, but there are some researchers who are interested in knowing more about fog, particularly the fog around Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, and they left Halifax on a research vessel, spent some time at Sable Island, then made their way to St. John's, and I got a chance to speak with the chief scientist earlier today.
We're here on a multinational science project. We're actually studying fog, maritime fog specifically, not a coastal-based fog, but one out in the ocean, open ocean, because this is one of the top foggiest areas for maritime fog in the world. And so we've been very fortunate so far. We're about halfway through our month, and we have well into the days and days of fog, which was not necessarily the expectation coming in. Previous efforts in coastal fog generated a number of interesting data sets, but they were more in the timeline of hours. And so on our way up from Halifax to here, we spent several continuous days in fogs taking measurements around the clock. We're measuring the upper atmosphere, the surface layer atmosphere, and then right down to the surface of the ocean itself. The interest is in the air-sea interaction. It's how the atmosphere is interacting with the ocean and how the ocean currents and the structure of the ocean is forcing back on the atmosphere. In terms of how this is generating these fogs that occur and persist for so long. And so we have a number of things called a wave glider. If you want to think of a giant surfboard that has solar panels on it and a bunch of instrumentation mounted on it, a propulsion system. And then it has a umbilical cord with a unit that actually pulls energy from the wave motion of the ocean. They travel fairly slowly, so we can deploy them and let them, but they'll go for 30 days easily. They go for quite a long distance. They're just slow, but they have a satellite link so you can monitor their position and the instrumentation in real time. And then for the first time we've deployed, in my experience, we have a small autonomous vessel. It's about the size of a full-size pickup truck, and it can travel at about 5-6 knots, and it's got a huge suite of instrumentation on it. We can deploy it, and it operates around the vessel. It kind of gives us a mothership capability with a floating platform of instrumentations that we can control.
You guys are here in St. John's. What are you doing at the moment, and where are you headed next?
We just came in from a transit that started out of Halifax, went around Sable Island, and then came up the shelf break, which is where the deep water starts at the edge of the shelf up here. And we came into St. John's. This is our midpoint. We have some additional instrumentation that wasn't ready, and we're bringing that online now. We're making some repairs. We've had some equipment that needed to be recalibrated or simply replaced. We're going to head back out to sea. We're going to transit back down across through the Grand Banks, and then we'll eventually wind up all the way down at Sable Island. We'll coordinate with the group that's actually on Sable Island, and we'll coordinate as an offshore mobile platform, and we'll do some integrated measurements there that'll give us an unprecedented flexibility. And then after that, we have a experiment going into the Gulf Stream, so we'll head directly offshore into the wind, and we'll watch the sea surface temperature differential, the changes, until we know we're firmly in the warmer Gulf Stream waters. And at that point, we'll turn around and slowly make our way back, doing a measurement cycle all the way back. Every time somebody has something to look at, there are so many factors that you have to consider as to how that condition arose. And so there's probably more work than we imagined starting this. And we started it very experienced, and we knew we were in for a real long time of analysis and changing the basic physics. But it's exceeded that expectation, and we're not at the halfway point, barely.
Yeah, they're definitely very excited about that, and they've had perfect weather, fog weather, especially along Sable Island, and even as they made their way here. So we like that weather for sure, because that means we're seeing some nicer temperatures across the province for a good chunk of the province. Really, we've been seeing these mild 20-degree temperatures. Today was a warm one as well, 26 degrees in St. John's, Gander 27, Badger topped out at 29 today, even Twillingate, you're up in those high higher 20s as well, 28 degrees. So we definitely have lots of warm air. Even Labrador, Lab City, 23 degrees. Still a little chilly though for you in Nain, only about 13 this afternoon. Taking a look at the humidex values though, they are quite warm. Feeling more like 31 in St. John's right now. You saw those temperatures topping out in Gander into the high 20s. Down to 18 degrees right now, and the reason for that is because we're seeing some thunderstorms roll through. Just show you the latest right now as we head through the next couple of hours. We're going to expect these to move offshore, but that's where they're sitting at the moment. And then we've got some lightning up across Labrador as well, not showing up on the satellite. But again, if we take a look at the satellite, you can see those big clouds there. That is where we're seeing some lightning, and then some may make it towards the northern peninsula as we head through the next couple of hours as well. So definitely keep an eye to the sky if you are planning on spending any time outdoors tonight. Model doing very well on showing where these systems are, or the cells are being produced, and it does look like over the next couple of hours they should move offshore. And then we'll see some showers develop again along the southern areas of the island. There's the potential for some of those storms to make it towards the northern peninsula as well. But as we head through the overnight, we could see the shower activity, which could be heavy at times again along the south coast, and then even in the Avalon, some much needed rain. In fact, just looking at some of the numbers earlier today, only 19.6 millimeters of rain has been recorded in St. John's for all of July. And typically we see about 102 millimeters of rain. So we're certainly seeing very dry conditions. Hence those fire bans for a good chunk of the metro area. Hopefully the rain will help as we head through the night tonight and tomorrow, really. So taking a look at the temperatures tonight, they're not really going to dip too much. 16, 17 degrees overnight tonight. Winds out of the southwest between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. There's that risk of storms for the northern peninsula. Most of Labrador should stay dry except the west. You're still looking at a chance of a few showers through the overnight. 14 degrees will be your overnight low. And then as we head through tomorrow, a better chance that we'll see some showers. So generally cloudy for the most part. We'll see a few peaks of sun in the mix for sure, but we will see those clouds on the increase as the afternoon rolls through, and then we're going to see this next system move in. It does look like we'll see some widespread areas of showers through the day. Much needed rain, like I said, for most of the island and then up across Labrador as well. Risk of some thunderstorms, particularly Lab West. Also central Newfoundland tomorrow. There's a chance that, well, really central and then towards the southwest, that we could see some embedded thunderstorms in some of these showers. So they'll work their way through as the day goes on, and as we get into the overnight hours, they should taper off to showers. And then most of Wednesday actually looking pretty nice. So we had some extreme fire risk, but the rain hopefully tomorrow will help. Still looking at a high fire risk as we head through the day tomorrow across the Avalon as well. So taking a look at the temperatures for tomorrow, another beautiful day, high 20s for most, mid to high 20s, with those winds a bit brisk again, southwesterlies 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. As we head through central, topping at around 28, 29 degrees. The humidex value still very much in place, so expect them to be closer to the 30s actually. And as you head towards the west coast, you're looking at your temperatures again, 20 to 25 degrees. A little bit more cloud cover for you though, particularly. Northern Peninsula looking at 20 degrees for St. Anthony, mix of sun and cloud. You may see your showers a little bit later on in the evening, and then Labrador into the 20s. Still single digits though for Nain. You will see a change this week, I promise. It's coming, but we'll get into those details coming up.
Starting this Wednesday, people over 50 can get a second COVID booster, but should you get it now or should you wait for the fall? We'll talk to an expert coming up. Starting on Wednesday, people over the age of 50 can get a second booster, which for most people means a fourth shot of the COVID vaccine. But the message from the Chief Medical Officer of Health was that some people might want to wait and get it later. So what should you be considering? Well, Rod Russell is a professor of virology and immunology at Memorial University. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Peter.
So give me an idea here. What is the benefit if you decide to, you know what, not going to get my booster now, I'm going to wait and get it in the fall?
Right. I guess the benefit of waiting, if there is a benefit, and we don't know for sure yet what the best decision is for anybody really, but the benefit of waiting would be that, for example, kids will be back in school, so none of us expected cases to be as high as they are right now in the summer, but we all, of course, expect cases to be as high or higher in the fall when kids go back to school and we all go back to work and start gathering indoors more frequently. So, given the fact that we now see that a booster really only gives us about 3 months of protection from actual infection, I'll always say, right, we have the benefit of the vaccines keeping us from getting really sick. But as far as the duration of protection from getting infected, it's clear that it's about 3 months or less for some people. So if you wait then till the fall, theoretically you'd be immune to actually getting infected for most of the fall up until Christmas, when we should see cases pretty high.
Okay, so for individuals who are trying to figure out, do I want to get my 3 months of protection now or do I want to get it in the fall, what are some of the factors that may weigh one way or the other?
Right, so as I just said, the problem, of course, is the virus didn't go away or take a vacation like we hoped it would this summer. So cases are really high, and that means that there's a high likelihood of getting infected now, and the more infection we have in the community, the more chance we have of the virus getting to vulnerable populations, people who might not have been at risk otherwise. So if you're looking at traveling right now, for example, if you have any vacation plans, or there's lots of weddings, basically everything is back on now. All the things that we were waiting for are happening now. So there's a lot of opportunity for exposure and a lot of opportunity for spread. So again, if you've been 4, 5, 6 months since your last booster, or it's been 3 or 4 months since you were infected with the virus, then getting the booster now will give you, again, that 3 months where you shouldn't get infected. So you wouldn't have to worry for a little while, and you wouldn't have to worry about infecting other people.
The booster that we're getting is still the vaccine that was based on the original version of COVID, which is no longer circulating. We're dealing with Omicron. There's been a hint that maybe this fall we'll have an Omicron-specific vaccine. What can you tell us about where that development is, and what does the evidence show about how that may differ in terms of the protection you get compared with the boosters we're using right now?
Right, so we don't know very much about it right now. We know, yes, there are what they're calling bivalent vaccines. So the idea would be that you'd have the original Wuhan strain or variant and the newer Omicron variant mixed into the vaccine. So you'd actually be getting a vaccine with both sequences in there. We're pretty sure that the reason we're seeing the short duration of protection right now, of course, is because the virus can get around the immune response made to the original vaccine. Potentially, the new vaccine the immune response would be able to handle the current variants better, so current Omicron variants and subvariants. The question then, we don't know right yet what effect that'll have. We don't know if you'll get a longer term of protection. I think you would, because if the vaccine is matched better with the circulating variants, then hopefully, the virus wouldn't be able to get around the immune system the way we're seeing it do now. So your 3 months might be 6 or 8, hopefully, to be optimistic, of course. So theoretically, if you get that vaccine in the fall, you might actually be protected then right through the flu season, we'll say. But again, we don't know is the point. And the other concern I have about waiting is, if you're in a population that is at any risk, or you're living with people who are at risk of severe disease right now, I'm not sure I'd wait for the bivalent vaccine, because it may not be ready by October, and it may not be as much better as we're hoping it will be. So I'd almost say, if you have any reason to be concerned about getting infected now, or if you have people in your life who you're concerned about infecting, then I would go ahead and get the current booster now, just to be sure. And let's see how the data comes out with the newer vaccine later.
Well, Rod Russell, I appreciate you joining us and sharing some of your insights. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, what's being described as the biggest multi-sport games in the history of Atlantic Canada gets underway in Halifax a year from today. And the North American Indigenous Games is going to be much more than a sporting event. Organizers see it as another big step towards reconciliation. The CBC's Gareth Hampshire has that story.
To begin the countdown to the Games, the host society threw a party on the waterfront today to bring people together through traditional song and dance. A year from now, the hope is that many more people will get involved.
Every opportunity that we have to create opportunities for people to learn and experience our culture is a step towards the right direction. The more you know, the more you understand.
16 different sports will be showcased at the North American Indigenous Games, including canoe and kayak, lacrosse, and archery. The event's aimed at inspiring the young Indigenous people taking part as they show off their skills on a big stage.
This is an opportunity for Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples to come together around a very positive experience that will enhance the life of the Indigenous youth that are coming here.
Hosting the Games is another sign Halifax is working hard on building an inclusive community, according to the mayor. As the city prepares to welcome athletes from more than 700 Indigenous nations in North America, he's encouraging people across the region to be a part of it by volunteering.
I think they'll learn a lot about the Mi'kmaq history and culture and the importance of the Mi'kmaq identity. They'll also have a lot of fun, so get involved, volunteer. This thing is really going to be a lot of fun. Really excited about it.
More than 5,000 Indigenous athletes will be competing at the Games at venues in Millbrook First Nation, Dartmouth and Halifax, where a cultural village will be set up here at the Halifax Common.
This cultural village will be a showcase which will create an opportunity to learn our traditional culture here in Mi'kmaq, but to also learn about Indigenous people from North America.
The Games have never been in Mi'kmaq before, fulfilling a long-time dream for organizers. They're planning to include Mi'kmaq values and traditions in all spaces of every venue to celebrate an event they hope leaves a lasting legacy. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
Tomorrow on CBC Radio's Newfoundland Morning, the root cellar rebound. Root cellars are coming back into use as people growing their own vegetables need a place to store them. And on the St. John's Morning Show, find out about temporary foreign workers living in Glovertown and working at the fish plant there. A mother from St. John, New Brunswick is doing her part to get books into the hands of kids. The book Buggy travels to playgrounds delivering free books as a way to help improve child literacy. Have a look.
Reading is, it's like magic. You can go anywhere in a book. My mom used to say that, so. I go around to local playgrounds and I give out free books to kids. The idea came from where we lived in British Columbia. They had a book bus. They gave out new books to kids in local playgrounds all summer. I decided that I wanted to emulate that program. We're literacy lovers. We go to the library all the time, and I just want to make sure that books are in the hands of kids. The kids are very excited. The reaction is one of the things I love the most, is that they're just so eager to get these books and so happy to take them away, and then they go sit on the playground or wherever and just read with their little friends and chat about the books. 56% of the New Brunswick population does have functional literacy, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to start the Book Buggy, is to help in some small way with things like that. We're a foster family, and I've seen some of the lack of literacy that is provided to some of the kids. Just being able to make sure that all the kids have books is important.
It's pretty good for like people who really like to read. So I think it's a really good thing that they put free books here.
Sometimes if I read a book and it's like really good, sometimes I keep replaying that same page over and over.
The 3 books I have found are The Babysitter's Club, Christie's Big Day. The second book I found was The 8 Keys. The third book I found was Sunny Side Up.
I found a book that had like a bunch of jokes. I forget what it was called. I also found the Babysitter Club book, and I also found Moody Judy.
What I like most about reading is that like they add so much detail that you can just make like a movie in your head.
Books, they can tell stories, they can teach you things, they can help kids deal with their traumas. There's just so many aspects that books can help with. And there's so many amazing books out there.
Well, the federal government launched consultations today on how to cap and cut greenhouse gases from the oil and gas sector. A paper published today by Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault lays out 2 options. One is a new cap and trade system that targets the oil and gas sector in isolation. The other potentially raises the carbon price for heavy emitters. Currently, oil and gas companies can reduce the price by buying credits from other companies that produce less than their emissions limit. The modified plan would allow them to buy credits from other oil and gas companies only, not from other industries. The minister aims to have a plan in place by early 2023. And officials from 40 countries are meeting at a climate conference in Berlin. And while they discuss ways to tackle climate change, Europe and the UK are sweltering in searing temperatures.
Came to the beach.
Came to Brighton.
Yeah.
Got the train.
Pre-packed from there, yeah.
And then came and cooled out.
Temperatures soaring into the 40s Celsius have many in England heading to the seaside for relief. The unprecedented heat has triggered a national emergency alert from Britain's Weather Office. It warns that the heat represents a threat even to healthy and fit people, and not just those in high-risk groups. The government is asking people to avoid all unnecessary travel. Heat-related mechanical problems have forced many cancellations on the rail system and forced 2 airports to close their runways. And in Europe, hot, dry conditions continue to fuel wildfires. Dozens are burning across France, Portugal, and Spain. And wildfires are burning here in Canada today as well. Extra resources have been called in from Ontario and Northwest Territories as a wildfire burns near a First Nation community in Manitoba. The fire near Pukatawagan started Friday. The community is now virtually deserted. Some 2,000 people have been taken to safety. The military has provided transport planes to aid the evacuation, and in BC's southern interior, an out-of-control wildfire just outside the village of Lytton is growing. The Noheman Creek fire now covers 17 square kilometers. The flames have destroyed or damaged at least 10 structures and forced more than 100 people to leave their homes. More dry weather is expected in the region. Lytton was ravaged by a wildfire last year as well. Well, learning to ride a two-wheel bike involves a lot of different skills and muscle groups. A community of people has come together near Winnipeg to help riders improve their skills and potentially change their lives. CBC Manitoba visited the I Can Shine bike camp.
I was looking for better training wheels for my son Liam when he was about 13, 14 years old, and he was already starting to get a bit bigger, so looked into training wheels, went and looked online, found Lose the Training Wheels website, and that was the original name of I Can Shine. Liam attended the camp, and by the end of the week he was up on two wheels, which was super exciting.
It was so much fun. Like, the experience was so much fun.
I was absolutely blown away that in 1 week, I tried working on it for close to 8 years since he was just a little guy, and your back's getting sore from trying to run behind him, and it happens. So yeah, it was pretty exciting.
So the roller bikes are the real magic of the program. Keeping the riders on there and working on those, they allow the rider to learn the skills to riding a bike without any real instruction. So the rider's body's just naturally on that bike, learn to ride a two-wheeler. So then the transition there works out perfectly. The bike really requires the rider to engage it with their hips, shoulders, feet, and hands, and forces all those skills to be developed just by being on it.
It's so amazing. I want to just watch her the entire session, but I'm also volunteering. I'm taking a couple of seconds to look at her and continue helping the other kids. Yeah, it's so emotional.
It's incredible. It's a lot of fun. You know, you come in on Monday and you set up and you don't know what the week's going to bring, but as it goes on, you get to see more and more progress and success, not only with the riders, but the family, the volunteers. It's an amazing time.
One thing that I found with this camp, it's not just the kids that are affected, it's the volunteers as well. There's so many successes that you see throughout this camp, and it's not just getting up and riding a bike. It's seeing them overcome challenges, overcome anxiety, fears. Volunteers learn how to work with kids that maybe have a disability that they've never actually experienced before. So all these experiences are successes throughout the camp. So it's pretty exciting to see.
Well, if you like these warm temperatures, there is a lot more of it in the forecast. We're going to continue to see the southwest flow, which means the mild temperatures we're going to continue, and also the humid weather as well. So let's take a look at what's happening on Wednesday. Temperatures for at least the eastern half of the island are going to stay mild, 25 degrees in St. John's through the day. Still looking at the chance of showers in the morning, but we should see some clearing as the day goes on. Unfortunately, as you head towards the west coast, though, a little bit cooler, more periods of rain expected for you as we head through the day. About 17 degrees for Corner Brook. Same thing for Port aux Basques. We're in that onshore flow for you, those westerly winds. And then for the northern peninsula, the chance of showers and 19 degrees through the day on Wednesday. Up across the Big Land, a little cooler though as you head towards the coast. 13 in Cartwright with, again, those periods of rain sticking around. And then as you head towards central and western Labrador, temperatures a bit warmer, although rainy. You see the sun though for Lab City through the afternoon, which is good news. So if we take a look at what's happening Wednesday evening, so that area of low pressure will move out, and we may see a few lingering showers stick around overnight on Thursday. But as we get through the afternoon, should be a beautiful day, actually. Clearing out up across Labrador, you'll see the next round of showers move in again Thursday evening and then continue to head further east as we get through the overnight hours. Another warm day expected on Thursday, temperatures into the mid to high 20s. Again, that humidity sticking around as well. And then for Labrador, other than the showers, looking pretty nice for you as well. 23 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, back to the double digits for you in Nain at about 14 degrees. Take a look at the long range, even nicer, 25, 26 degrees, some sunshine right through Friday. It does look like we may see a few showers on Saturday, but overall 24 degrees rather. We'll tend to that. And the overnight lows still staying into the teens. Taking a look at central Newfoundland's long range forecast, looking beautiful as well. A little dip on Wednesday, but back up to 27, 28 degrees to round out the week. And then the weekend, unfortunately, on Saturday, looking gray at this point and about 27 degrees for western Newfoundland. After the rain on Wednesday, nice stretch there. Thursday, Friday, looking absolutely beautiful, 25, 27 degrees, and then the chance of a few showers sticking around on Saturday. Likely won't be fully cloudy. You'll likely see some sunshine, but definitely still looking at that chance of showers. As far as eastern Labrador goes, it looks a bit unsettled through the weekend, but temperatures will stay in the 20s and then a little cooler for western Labrador as your temperatures are in the teens, but they're right around where they should be this time of year. But unfortunately, the rain will stick around. I had to share this great shot. This is Leon enjoying the sunset in Gooseberry Cove. Headley shared that great shot. Looks so content.
Oh, so peaceful.
So peaceful. Thank you so much for that. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
So nice. Gosh, I can't get over that forecast. I thought I had it good last
You
week
did.
when I had like a little staycation, but this week looks amazing.
Even warmer.
In the east.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I like it. I
Pretty
like the
good.
heat, but
yeah,
for a
me
short
too.
period of time.
Yes. Well, that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Good night.